we're going to talk about bring everything to the light of God. Bring everything to the light. That's a good title. Bring everything to the light. And what that means has sort of two sides of the coin, but we're going to discuss both sides. Bring everything to the light. Now, some people, they pray and, they ask for God's guidance and so on. Believe it or not, there's two sides of this bring everything to the light. For example, I myself, when I pray and when I teach prayer and guidance to people, I say, here's one thing you ought to consider doing. Ask God to fill every part of your being. Ask God to fill your spirit, your soul, your mind, your emotions, and your body. All chakras, head to toe, front to back, left to right, every aspect. Just fill me with your presence. And that's accurate. You follow? That's accurate. That's a good thing to do. But there's a little snag in this. And that is that some people take that concept, not my concept, but the concept of praying to God. And what they're really doing incorrectly is, God, help me. And then you design what you want, how you want it, what the problem is, and what the solution is. That's most people's version of prayer. So that's why even my teaching, ask God to fill you, could end up with you telling God how to fill you. Which chakra to fill? I just say all of them. But still, you might have a favorite. You might say, and don't forget this one. And God, and can you, a little extra in that one? Still micromanaging God. And so even though I myself teach it, it can be misdone by, God, help us in our world. People pray for world peace. But they have their opinion of what world peace looks like. Honestly. They're praying for prosperity. But then they're deciding what it looks like. They're asking for health. Dear Lord, fix, my mother, she's sick, and please help her. Help her how? Are you usually saying, I'm open? No. It's, make her healed. See? There's always a subtle, passive-aggressive demand going on with people's prayers. So technically, bring things to the light. It's safer to stay away from, God, we're calling on your presence to do this. I call that drawing down the presence, right? Like they say, drawing down the moon. You're anchoring God's presence. That's fine to do if you understand what it is. If you're still subtly screwing with it, it's not okay. But if you truly understand what you're meaning behind your God, anchored down presence, then it's fine. But if you need the extra safety, then here's the better way to do it. You go to God instead of asking God to come to you. You go to God's level instead of asking God to come to your level. See, if I say, God, heal me, this and that and the other, I'm asking God to come here to fix that I'm even sick. God's like, last time I checked, you're a perfect spiritual being. I don't understand. What do you mean you're sick? Oh, well, let me explain this to you, Lord. Let me explain. Let me open the Merck manual of the physician's reference manual and tell you what illnesses are, what symptomology, and all and on and on. We're going to tell God. Instead, you go to God, there is no sickness there. You go to God where you're abundant. See the subtle difference? Major difference, but subtle twist of wording. Bring everything to the light. Okay, so God, come here and help us with this conversation we're having. Instead of, God, lift us. Let the Mother lift us to the heavens where we can commune in God, and there we have no problem. Now, all I have to do is act like it. I mean, if I say we're rising to the heavens, oh my God, as soon as I do that, there's such a nice, there's an ease, there's a peace, I feel better. But when you're done in your little experience, you have to still act like it. If you go, wow, this feels so blissful, jerk, it doesn't make any sense. If you just leave heaven, hold on, God, I got to go set somebody straight. Boom, beam back down, smack, smack, smack to somebody, and then, back into God again. That's the kind of person that goes to church on Sunday, the old school, the traditional. Go to church on Sunday, And you act like that mess made up for the last 6 days. You know, it's bogus. So bring everything to God. Now, I remember a teacher, certainly the number one or two most popular New Thought teachers in the world. And I won't name her name, but she's mostly involved with church. It's not so much, she's not like just the author type teacher. She's done her, work in this kind of field, like the New Thought centers. This person, one little side note, I saw her at a conference. We were speakers, and she, oh, you're Michael Mirdad. Oh my God, it's such a pleasure to meet you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she said, I heard that you're being invited to be and this is a motivational woman too, man. She changes people's life. And she's saying, I heard you're invited to be the spiritual leader in Sedona. This is right when that was happening. She said, don't do it. Motivational woman. Don't do it. And I'm like, what? And she said, oh, Sedona as a town has a reputation. This little biting kind of small town competition. She said, but that particular center, she said, everybody knows they went through 30 or 40 applicants, and they just had so much of a rift going on. She said, I wouldn't advise it. And I'm like, I had to take that to heart and consider it, but I went ahead and came anyway and ran into some of this stuff. Sometimes you go through the fire, man, you become very strong. But she did say that. On another note, though, she had probably, it's in the top 3 most successful spiritual centers in the country. In the world, you could say, because the New Thought movement is far bigger in America than it is elsewhere. Not that they don't have it, but it's a big movement here. It's much more common. So I could say in the world, but she in the top few, man, spiritual centers, and it was amazing. Hundreds and hundreds of people every week, and she was renowned for this. I mean, it was just really impressive. And one day, she found out her husband was stealing money from the church. She did not know about it. And some of her friends were like, okay, we got to deal with this. Like spin doctors. We got to do that, and we got to smile more and deny it. And they're telling her how to deal with it. And she said, no, bring it out. Bring everything to the light. No secrets. Bring it out to the light. That doesn't mean you can't have privacies. She's saying she knew it was healthier to just say, here's what's going on. Now, mind you, she got crucified for it. She did. Her church blew up. Her husband went to jail. So she lost overnight, practically, everything that she thought was earned, established. When you're a minister and you develop a church and it becomes successful, it feels good. It feels nice. I don't mean just ego stroke. I mean, this is your work. Yeah. You develop something overnight, man. And this guy went to jail. She was obviously not involved at all. That was very evident. But an interesting thing or two. One was she still took it upon herself to pay his debt, even though she legally was completely cleared of all this. She went back and paid his debt. She said, because I was married to him and I didn't see it, I'm still going to pay it. And she paid it. That is like integrity squared, like, wow. So I thought that was pretty amazing. But the downside sort of was, I actually had people tell me, Michael, I hear you're speaking at a conference with her. Yes, I am. Well, I won't attend any more of your things if you are around that woman. Do you know what she did to us? And I said, yes, I do. And they're going from the negative gossip that they want to believe versus what really happened. She did this, well, I understood that, and the courts even proved. The guy went to jail. She had nothing to do. Oh, no. What it was I'm not getting what I want. I want that teacher to be a certain way. It may have been, I wanted my mother to speak up against my father, or whatever they're projecting onto the woman. I'm telling you, this woman had great integrity. And who cares? For all I know, she could be a smoker and you don't like smokers. I can't swear by the actions of every human being to be pleasant in the eyes of other human beings, because we're all varying and different, right? But for the most part, man, this lady's stellar. But I remember she was one of the great proponents of that statement. Bring everything to the light, which means bring it to God. But the difference, don't bring God to it. You can do that if you know what you mean by it. Do you get what I'm saying there? As long as you know that what you mean by draw the presence of God down, you really mean, I want to bring this to God. It's more like a figure of speech. Why would I want to bring reality to illusion? Why would I want to bring perfection to this place? Why would I want to bring that which is infinite, to a place that's finite? It doesn't make sense, which is the whole concept of separation. We went insane and decided to do something that can't be done. So all I'm really saying is reverse it. Bring stuff to healing. Bring darkness to light. Because in the light, there's no darkness. But when you say bring God into the dark, if you know what you're saying and you know what you mean and you do it right, that's still accurate. But what most people mean is, I want to bring God to a dark area of my life. I'll decide what area. There's one square of tile right there. That's the only, leave the rest alone, God. Just that one tile. It's like, bring it to the light. If you have an addiction, don't be ashamed of it. Just, here I am. Like Yogananda says, just stand before God, open yourself and say, open yourself up and say, here I am. And it's that concept. Why? Why this? And I'm not going to hide. This is me, whatever that might be. And again, there's appropriateness. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you have to become suddenly like some person with privacy Tourette's. You just start blurting everything out that you don't like some lady's hair in the grocery store. Well, I got to be honest. My heart's telling me, and wait, I'm checking. Yep, Spirit said I need to tell you, that's an ugly hairdo. That's not from Spirit. That's not from, and I get this, people with this sort of thing, especially in Sedona, everybody's, channeling. So, my guides are telling me what's wrong with you. Tell your guides I'm not interested. And if they're that good of a guide, why didn't they tell you that I'm not interested? So, here's what you can all do to everybody else in Sedona and beyond. You can say, I have an announcement to make. If you have any guidance, I don't care from what dimension, I don't care what the being looks like. If you have any opinions and guidance to share with me, do me a favor. I have an attorney named God. You go to my attorney and talk to them like you would a really rude, in a divorce. You'd say, talk to my attorney. Just tell them to go to God. Go to God, and if God finds any of what you're saying of value, it'll let me know. Isn't that kind of cool? What you think of me is none of my business. Over there, God. So, bring everything to the light. Bringing things to the light is how I am a teacher. I say, what would you have me talk about today? I just bring myself to that light. And I try to do that in everything. I really do. I really, really do. It's kind of interesting. To the point where if I was walking through customs, traveling in a country, I'm looking at the different booths. Which one would you like me to go to? You follow? I could just ignore it and just go to whatever, but I really do that in as many areas as I can. And still there's human stuff. Just a funny one yesterday. We were over at the new building, painting and all this sort of thing. And I ended up with paint all over me. And I knew that. I didn't care. I was just like, well, I got to get in it and do it. So I'm in and spraying all this paint. It's everywhere. So I went home and I thought, I've heard, men who know about these things, they use paint thinner and that sort of thing. Right? You're right. You have to kind of paint, right. So I saw paint, remover. Well, I put this all over my arms and hands, and then it was paint remover. It wasn't paint thinner. So it was this globby stuff. Right? Do you know what I'm talking about, Dirk? And I'm going, ah! And I go over to the utility sink in my garage, and I'm like, it's burning my arms and hands. And I go, water, water, water. I turn on the water. Oh, and the water's hot. It's like, so it's burning more. So I'm like, get it to cold. Okay, cold. It's not helping. It's sizzling my skin. Soap. Maybe I shouldn't use soap, And I quickly, a few rounds of soap. And then I tried, quickly in the cupboard right here next to me, there's this Gooby Gone or whatever they call it. So now I'm trying that, quickly to help get... I was like a handyman nightmare, God, so it was just quite the scene. And I'm like, and then as much as I could, then I'm done, and I'm thinking it's done, more cold water, and it's just this, and there's like little blisters I have everywhere now. So there are moments where things still happen. Things still happen. And, and I prayed as it was happening too. God! No. So there was a lot of prayer, a lot of praise. But wow, right? So, bring everything to God. You can start and end every day, and you're still going to have stuff happen in this world. Brilliant, Jesus, the channeled Christ as well, Yogananda, have said, why are you still expecting perfection in an imperfect world? That's like having a codependence. It is. It's like an addiction behavior. Oh, this drink will help. No, it didn't. Oh, perfect world will help. No. In fact, instead of only celebrating that you get what you want, we can also learn to give thanks for the times we well handle the things that aren't so right. Someone's still going to die. You can be all, I'm vibrating to it. I don't care. Somebody's going to die. You're going to go through it. You could be like, I do crystal chime, every morning. Someone's still going to betray you. Somebody's going to gossip. Somebody's going to leave. This world is like that. And I definitely have the propensity to still wish that stuff didn't have to happen. Because it doesn't have to happen. But I get caught in that sometimes. Just really, really that beautiful vision of what life could be like. And it's right for us to have that vision. But our lesson is to not get attached to that vision. So I could be like, I just got another day and we did so many things, and God, we got the cement poured in 24 hours. I was told it could take a month from the one guy. This guy, 24 hours. Wow, and then, like right in the midst of wow comes ow. It just came to me. So, stuff's still going to happen. And even in the New Age community, as I'm going to start coming to a close now, even in the New Age community, sometimes the guidance I get when I say, there's a saying, like, some people say, well, there's two sides to every story. No, there isn't. There can be if you have two people arguing and opining on a situation, but otherwise you would say there's always two sides. So picture this, Jesus gets crucified, gets to the other side. What happened? How'd it go, Jesus? Well, I got crucified. Oh, that doesn't sound very nice, but there are two sides to every story. So you might have ticked these people off. You see, you can go ahead and make Jesus wrong to say he was crucified because he was wrong. No. You had a person who was just sharing the truth, and you had people that didn't like the truth. Does that mean Jesus was fighting, headbutting with them? Does it mean he was wrestling with them on an ego level? No. So when people tell you, oh, well, there's two sides. No, there isn't always two sides. In God, there's actually only one side. Clarity, love, righteousness. All the other, good news is, all the other, when it looks like there's a second side, those are the illusions. Humans are so used to this saying that there's always two sides to every story. They're so used to it, they can't believe that there can be one reality. They actually perpetuate There's two versions because they want there to be two versions. So there doesn't need to be two versions of politics. There doesn't need to be Democrats, Republicans, and whatever else they call these things. One day it's possible. You could still choose someone just amongst a few people. But this division, divisiveness, fighting, and it's silly. And it's completely ego-centered. So yeah, there are these sayings, like there's two sides. I bring that to God and I'm shown differently. What would you have me talk today? And I'm shown something differently. Everything. What would you have me do with this yard? Oh, I just bought a house and there's, weeds and rocks. What would you have me do? Well, the rocks can become a wall and the weeds can be mulched under and something can come to us. Bring everything to the light. Everything. I don't know how to deal with this relationship. Bring it to the light. Don't just ask for solutions. I don't know what to do. So I'm handing it over. And something changes. Something will shift. So much so that, again, Yogananda experience, he had an issue with at least one of his legs that was extraordinarily painful. That he couldn't walk at times. Well, not Yogananda. Yes, everybody. So he had extreme pain. But once he limped up and started teaching, it's gone. Because technically, in the moment he's teaching, he went to the light. So in the light, there's no pain. It's pretty amazing. And to me, that's just like a metaphor of life. Bring your dreams to the light, every decision to the light. I'm not suggesting that you suddenly become all chaste and, like you overly devoted to where you have to wear a certain color and, abstain from all happiness of the planet. I'm just talking about bring things to the light. It's a really beautiful thing to do. And even if you don't know how, and even if you don't believe in it, then it can't hurt to do it. You just try it out. Start every day. Here I am. Just surrender. And even if you imagine that you're going up, it's really in, but imagine you're going up into the light and you're communing. Remember, the only other job after that is try to bring some of it back with you. If it doesn't change your behavior, you're missing something. And this world knows that you've gone to the light this morning. There's a darkness in the world called the ego, but the ego becomes an evil. And there's like this ego or evil in this world. And it looks, wait, where's so-and-so? Oh, they went to God this morning. They'll be back shortly. Oh, really? All right. We're going to have a conversation about this. I want some files on them. I want to know their weaknesses. I want to know their challenges. I want to know. This ego and evil brings it all. And when you come back down to earth, they're ready for you. They know your buttons. They know your doubts. They know your fears. And the things that annoy you. And then it happens. You're just like whistling. Oh, what a happy day as you're driving, and you've channeled this morning, you got in touch with God, and whatever your thing is, you can, I'm just going to get some fuel. Be with me, God, and this is great. And I understand the fuel is really the Spirit of God, and you're all new agey about it. And as you pull up into the gas station, you got your crystal prism dangling, lights coming, rainbows, and my car is just like a sacred space. Then you get out and you go to pump the gas, and your card doesn't work. And you're gradually getting, well, there's this evil that goes, someone sabotage the pump quickly. Look who's coming, and you start losing your mind over it. Then you go inside, the pump's not working. Well, didn't you see the sign? They act like you're an idiot. Didn't you see the sign out of order? There was no, yes, there was. No, there wasn't. Two sides to every story, right? So you go out there and it blew off. Do they say, oh, so sorry? No, sometimes they're like, well, you probably took it off and threw it in the trash. And now I'm being all accused. And all I did, Lord, was try to come to you. And God's like, You need to know by now, if you're calling yourself spiritually mature, you need to know by now that whatever amount you download, something's going to try to match it. Bummer. It's a bummer. That's how I feel about it. It's a bummer that this is set up the way it is. But I'm also aware that this is not my home. This is not our ultimate destiny and destination. Only God. That's it. Only God is the other destination besides this. The world of limitation will one day surrender to all that really is, and it's God. So the more we practice going to God now, the more you're technically setting yourself up for the real thing. The sooner you get there, the sooner it's integrated. If we can live it here, we can get it anywhere. Is it easy? It's simple, but not always easy. There's glorious moments getting a new place. Wow, new place, a building, and all, even coming here and all doing all this. But there were people. It can't be done. No, left and right. Still, that stuff going on. And I get to be like, this. I get it. This is so cool. Here we go. And then and it's like, unexpected. And I'm, a little bit too sensitive sometimes that way, where sometimes that gets in a little bit too much. But that's my problem. I have to keep working on that. I don't want to become cold to opinions and people's problems, yet I don't want to be overly empathic either. So that's one of our human lessons, is that fine line. Find that, where you care, but you will not become crushed by people's stuff. And that leads me to the last. There's a saying, and I bring it to the light and I get a different translation. That's their stuff. That's not mine. Which just affirmed there's two people here. How can you experience the oneness of God if they have issues and you don't? Now, I get what you're saying, though. What you're saying, what you mean to say, and could accurately say, is it's their stuff, meaning they're the one living it, venting it right now. They're the one with the symptomology going on. They're the one who is the symptom of a problem. But the solution is oneness. God, bring everything to the light. That's oneness. So it's not, God, please help them to get what I'm saying. It's help us heal what's not happening here, the thing that's not God right here. Bring us to the light. Let's go to the light. And that's what you're doing when you practice forgiveness. If you still think I'm forgiving a jerk, there's still two people and you're not cured. You are not. You are not in a state of true forgiveness. You might have made a little progress. That's good for you. But it's not true healing when there's two. Healing, forgiveness, miracles, all these things rely on God. And God is one. So be careful, because I've heard most everybody, even in the New Thought community, my counselor taught me how to see this. It's their stuff, not mine.
Oh, God.
So this is tricky stuff, because it's theirs, not mine. Even Jesus said, forgive them, they know not what they do. That was a way of including them in his forgiving self, instead of, well, that's their stuff. It is their action. It is their stuff by action. But you cannot help them if you stay separate from them. I'm not saying the opposite, to take it on. Oh, so Michael said we're all in this together, and this person's a total jerk, so I guess I'm just a jerk too. That's not what I said. Don't go swinging one extreme. Don't go swinging the other. Center. In my center, we're one and the same. That's their stuff. Okay, I get it. That means they're acting it out. But that will not allow me to go, too bad for you. You're the bad guy here. You might act like it. You might seem to carry that symptom here. But no, we're in this together. The only reason you're acting this out with me is because some part of your soul is saying, brother, sister, can you help me? Now, mind you, that's not what your ex is saying verbally. Honey, I just feel like I'm separate from God. And I feel like you're the person who's going to help me find God again. They're instead like, I'm taking everything. Anger and judgment and vengeance. I'm going to tell everybody, you dye your hair. Like, what? Anything to bother you and push your buttons. It's just like weird. But we're supposed to try to bring it to the light, which means I'm going to go to heaven for a moment. Because this person, no. I'm going to go to heaven and sit in the space of, God, how would you have me see this? And it's like forgive them, they know not what they do, but that doesn't mean forgive them because they're bad and you're good. This is the part of us, key word, the part of us that is sick. Yeah, but I'm not doing it. Honey, why are you so insecure that you can't say us? Because I didn't do it. Relax. Then you didn't do it. You're right. So they're bad, right? Okay. All right. So we'll make sure we sign them up for some bad karma because of what they did to you. By the way, if you read the fine print, you have to come back with them. Now, do you want them to go and be punished in some next lifetime? Most of us would not want that, but that's what's going to happen. We have to practice. This is a sickness. Every illness is in us. You can say, I don't have that illness. You do, because we're a we. You're not the one acting it out, but you also have a different color hair than the next person. We look different because the ego wants us to stay in a separated and negative version of divide and conquer kind of lifestyle. Instead, us, we, us, we, us, we. When I pray, most of the time, the chaplains know this already, but most of the time I pray, when I'm praying for another, I don't say, oh, Heavenly Lord, I, your faithful servant, am calling in your power to that person over there who's sick. My prayers are like we're in a situation right now. They might be clearly the ill one. That's not the point. If I love them, I'm here with them. If a lightning bolt is coming down and you see it shooting down and you're standing with your child, are you going to say, it's probably because they're wearing like a metal necklace. Honey, move over there so I can be safe. Don't split off from people. You can't help them. If the lightning's going to strike and you have a baby in your arms, say, here we come. Here we come, Lord. Apparently, we're heading your way. In this, we die together, we rise together, we live together, we go to jail together, and there's your Martin Luther King kind of speech. That's a great statement. We do things together. You don't have to fight for a gender, a race, a generation. If we're one, there's nothing to heal, nothing to fight for. We've got to get back to that trust. Okay? Please take a few centering breaths. Stretch a little. Relax your mind a little, your shoulders a little. Spend just a moment soaking in anything you heard that makes sense. Whatever works for you, breathe it in as a part of you. This is my belief, not what I was told by someone on a Sunday. I get this. This makes total sense. This is my belief. I own this, and now I can go from hearing it to owning it to believing it to living it. And the living it transforms everything. So walk yourself through these concepts for a moment. Do you want to be the person just hearing something? You're allowed to. You can even go the opposite and just refuse to hear it. Shut it down. But you can go to listening and hearing it. Do you want to do that and stop there, or would you go further? Integrating it. Becoming it. Can I make that next step? Yes, I can do that. This concept of us and we, I'm going to start practicing that. This concept of bringing things to the light, that makes sense. I got it. That's me. Excellent. You can stop there or go the next step. I'm now going to live it in mind, body, and soul. I'm going to live this. What does that look like and feel like? See yourself doing it so that you wire those neurons that this is reality for you. And then the recognition that it changes the world. The world does its little whirlwinds of stuff to the left, to the right, forward, backward, here and there. Politics and this and all these different things going on. Whatever it happens to be. Relationship, economics, whatever it is that's whirling around. See what it's like to be living this. I bring this to the light. What does that look like? Show yourself, see yourself living that, unmoved by the garbage of the world. And if I am moved, I catch myself and bounce back as quickly as possible. And see the effect it has on the whirlwinds. It's like Jesus saying to the waves, be still. Just see yourself in that level of power. Be still and know the I am presence of God. I refuse to buy into fear stuff, anger stuff, reactive stuff. Sure, it's tempting. Sure, there's a trigger here and there. There's a button that can be pushed in me. I get that, but I don't deny it. I see it, own it, and give it to you, God. Less reactiveness, less drama and trauma. Imagine, what if you're walking this world and you see sickness, and in your mind you hear the words, be still and know the I am presence of God. It's like saying to the disease, I'm going to get you right now and take you to the light, and you're disappeared, you're dissipated, you're gone. Financial issues, racial issues, all brought to the light and all dissipated. Such an effortlessness, such an efficiency. I don't have to make everything happen, work so hard. I'm more creative. I'm clearer. I'm stronger. Really own that and soak that in. God, it feels great. A clearer channel. Close with a last breath or two of absolute gratitude, but the kind that means, I got it. This is really in me as me. And so it is. Thank you. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is,
I am, we are, and so it is.